Good afternoon. So my name's Nick Duncombe. I'm the head of recruitment at Playground Games, an Xbox game studio, and this is what we do. Cool, so that was Forza Horizon 4, which was released in September last year, which is Xbox's highest rated exclusive this generation with a 92 Metacritic, and has a huge commercial and critical success. So does everyone, I'm going to do this quite interactive, so there's going to be a lot of showing of hands and that just to sort of judge the crowd. So first of all, who's heard of Playground Games? Raise your hands. So quite a few people, that's really good. So we've been going for nearly a decade. It's actually our 10-year anniversary at the end of this year. So we started as just 18 people in half the first floor of a Georgian building in Leamington Spa. From that, we've gone to over 200. We've gone from being a third-party independent to an Xbox game studio. And from working on one AAA project, we now have two, with our Forza Horizon series and an unannounced RPG, which I won't be talking about today. So what we're going to discuss, we're going to talk about the UK industry. We're going to have a chat about what to expect during application. We're going to talk about a little bit who we hired over the last year or two, the application process you'll go through, what we look for in applications and graduates, and then finally why we do this as well. So then, the UK industry. Just to give you a bit of an overview, I mean, there's 33,500 workers in the UK game industry. All these numbers are taken from UKIE. With nearly 12,000 working in game development. So those numbers sound really, really big, but they're not. In the grand scheme of it, they're not. And there's over 2,000 games companies in the UK as well. So what you should expect. You need to stand out from the crowd. As I've just said, looking at those numbers, they look like big numbers, but they're not, especially when you think about how many students are coming through, how many game design courses there are out there. 416 game courses from 132 institutions. Just think about the numbers involved with that, and each year, the number of students that they're putting out. Last year, we had 437 applications for our graduate environment art role. We had 329 applications for our graduate engineer role, and guess what? We hired 5. That's not a number we can only hire, 5, that's total. We can hire as many as we want, but we only hired 5. Only 5 hit the standard that we were looking for that year. Applications have secured a role from us, that's 0.65%. That's tiny. You've got to be the best of the best, and you've got to really work on your portfolio and really raise the bar in order to get a role in a AAA studio. So then, what I thought we'd do is talk about who we hired and use them as case studies. So first up, we've got Sam. Sam is one of our graduate engineers, and we hired Sam from Coventry University from their games technology course. So what did Sam say? So I asked each person, if you could go back a year, 3 years to when they started university or they went into their final year, if you could have a do-over, what would you do differently? So with Sam, he said, he'd keep up to date on new techniques and industry standards and try to implement them yourself. So if you're interested in rendering and you use DX11 or OpenGL, try to learn DX12 or Vulkan in your spare time. It's going above and beyond just what you're being taught by your lecturers. And then we've got a little image of Sam's portfolio. Everyone should have a portfolio. I'll be honest with you, when we look at a CV, I probably spend about 3 seconds looking at it, looking for the blue hyperlink to go through to the portfolio. Every CV is pretty much the same. You've got your degree, you've got your university, maybe you've put a part-time job, maybe you're a sandwich artist at Subway or whatever. What we're interested in is your portfolio. That is what separates you from the rest of the crowd. If you haven't got one, you're not going to progress further. So here's Sam's. So he's breaking it down. He's got a Vauxhall Terrain demo, he's got some ray tracing stuff, some V-script stuff, little Asteroid Rush game that he made. These are perfect just to showcase all the different things he's interested in, all the stuff he's done. Maybe it's university, maybe it's personal projects. He's showcasing them all there for us. And you know what? This actually becomes the basis of your interview. You could be interviewing with us for 2, 3, 4 hours even. That time will fly when you're talking about something, whether it's your programming portfolio, whether it's your ArtStation portfolio, and you're talking through the different elements of it. It's the talking points. So the more you've got in there, the quicker the interview will flow and the better it will flow as well. So next up, we've got Chris. Chris is one of our environment artists. He went to Hertfordshire and did the 3D game art and design course. And Chris said, while at university, I wish I had started preparing myself earlier in order to have an edge on the applications before graduation. I speak to so many people and they're in their final year and they haven't started the portfolio, or they started a little bit in the first year and it's gone dormant. Your final year is one of your sort of busiest years. You know, you're preparing for your finals, everything else. You've got final year projects. You can't rely on just sticking those in your portfolio and applying to get a job. Just having that degree certificate doesn't entitle you to a job in the industry. If I look around, everyone here wants to work in the games industry, I think, don't they? Yeah, we're all nodding away. You've got to separate yourself from everyone else, not just in this room, but the thousands of applications out there. Out of interest, can you raise your hands if you want to be an artist? Cool. So we've got about 40%. Engineer? A couple at the back, yeah. Designer? Cool. We get a lot of design applications. We just put our design assistant out. We had over 500 applications for it, so really, really tough to get in. Any producers? Yeah, we've got a couple of producers as well. That's good. QA? Audio? Yeah, we usually get the odd audio on. Good stuff. Okay, so let's have a look at Chris's portfolio. So here we've got, basically, he's put together a windmill. He's put a little diorama together using all the assets, as we can see from the bottom screen. And he showcased all these, whether it's soft assets, hard assets, foliage, etc. And all showcased in a nice, tight diorama. What we always say with portfolios, especially on the art side, is try and get something nice and tight. We don't want to see a full game, you know. There's a lot of people who put a massive scope into this, whereas actually we want to keep the scope as tight as possible and try and find a diorama which is going to show off all the skills that you've learned, not only during university, but all the stuff you've done on the side and your personal projects as well. So coming up with a diorama, a scene where you can showcase those skills is excellent. So what you can see here, we've got sort of soft foliage, hard assets. You know, we've even got a flag and sort of and fabric textures in the background. So just showing off all those different skills and highlighting you've got something for everyone. Next up, we've got Emmanuel, another environment artist. He did media design at university in Germany, and I won't butcher the name of the university. But Emmanuel said, the stuff taught at university usually doesn't teach their students how to help themselves. People need to learn problem solving because that's what you are in the industry, a problem solving creative. What do you think Emmanuel's trying to get at there? Any ideas? No? Okay, yep.
Again, it's that we're going above and beyond actually doing the research yourself, not just relying on the university.
Correct. So at the moment, you know, you might be going to your lecturer constantly asking questions, and that's good, and that's what they're there for, that's what you're paying them for. But when you get into industry, you can't constantly keep going to the art director or the art manager going, how do I do this? Does this look right? You know, is the composition right on this? As an artist, you should know that. You know, and that's again going back to Art 101. You know, during an interview, you might get asked what your favourite painter is. You know, it's a question that gets asked at Playground, and you'd be shocked how many people's faces go white, and they'll come up with some stock answer like Michelangelo. And guess what the next question is? What's your favourite piece? And it gets even worse. They go transparent then. You know, Art 101 is essential. You know, at the end of the day, you're an artist. You know, being able to use software, whether it's Maya, Max, Substance, etc., is key, and you need those skills. But you're not a software jockey. You're an artist. So make sure you've got a good appreciation of art and everything else. And let's go on to Emmanuel's portfolio. So again, we've got a nice solid piece. This is an even tighter piece here. So we've got a really old window, cracks. So we're showing glazing, we're showing wood materials. We've got this cobweb with dew on both the cobweb and on the glass. This piece here, you know, with the morning dew, it's just showing off a range of skills. And we've got the foliage in the background. This is a really tight diorama, but he's just showcasing all the different skills that he's learned on this one tight piece. Next up, we've got Aaron, who's one of our engineers. He went to Staffordshire University and did the computer games programming course. And Aaron said, think about how many students apply for the same job application. Make sure your coursework stands out from the rest. And again, we've got Aaron's portfolio here, so he's got some advanced graphics and real-time rendering. You'll notice, well, even the programmers, they're using sort of like WordPresses, etc., to host their portfolios. There's no excuse, even if you're a programmer, not to have something which looks half decent. You know, I know you're not an artist if you're a programmer, but there's so many WordPress templates out there. You know, you want something which looks aesthetically pleasing. Lots of templates, choose a nice one, and expand from that. And then next up, we've got Mike, another one of our programmers. Mike went to Abate and did computer games technology. And Mike said, it's important to spend time outside of class working on personal projects and or game jams. Everyone in your class will graduate with pretty much the same set of skills, so it's good to have other projects to separate you from the rest of the crowd. We see this a lot, especially with programmers and artists. We'll start to see the same imagery come up, and it's obviously they've worked on a team project, and then it's a case of, well, actually, what did you work on? What part of it did you do? Is this just a copy and paste type thing? So by doing extra personal projects and game jams, you've got extra work for your portfolio. It will separate you from the crowd straight away, and you'll have more on there. And you obviously, if you go and do a game jam and come back, you might have only spent 24 hours, 48 hours on it. You can iterate it on it after that. So you might take the core idea. Say you're a game designer and you want to take it further. You're an artist. You can take it further, programmer, etc. And then we've got Mike's portfolio. So he's got some of his honours projects. He's got some little games he's worked on. He's got some procedural pieces on there as well. But just showcases a range of work that he's done both in class and outside of class too. And then finally we got Dan Fern, one of our environment artists. He went to Derby and did the computer games modelling and animation course. And Dan said, if I could have a do-over for my last year of university, I'd focus on creating small dioramas with lots of detail in them rather than going through a whole environment and having to rush through it. I've had much better responses from a well-thought-out diorama in my portfolio than a fully fleshed out environment with subpar assets. So again, keep it small, keep it tight. You can up the quality bar that way. If you do something large, quality is going to go down. And then we've got Dan's here. So obviously he's broken down all his assets into this little diorama with the Hoover. I think that's, I can't remember what brand name that is. But all the different parts, but he's got sort of hard surface in there as well. He's got some like the teddy bear showing off sort of fur material, etc., cardboard, wood, but just showing a range of stuff that he's done, both with full model sheets, render sheets, etc., and breaking it all down. Cool, so that's Dan. So next bit I'm going to talk to you about is the application process, and I'm going to run through, I'm going to do it in a flow chart, nice and simple. You're going to look at this and go, that makes perfect sense, it's really, really obvious, but actually, once you've put onto a career site and you've uploaded your CV, you've put your portfolio website in, you get that nice little email going, thanks for applying. You're probably wondering, what happens next? Where does it go? How does the process work? Well, here's what happens. So you'll submit your application. Next bit, it's an application review. Myself or one of my team will review your application. And then from there, there's two options. There's either a no, and you'll get a nice email saying thanks but no thanks, or it'll be a yes, and you'll move on and you'll have a Skype interview with us. Skype interview is generally half an hour, 45 minutes. Really all we're doing is checking the stuff that on your portfolio is yours, just getting a bit more of an idea about you, team fit, personality, a few sort of leading questions into technical skills to make sure that you're on the right lines. If it's a no, guess what? You get the unfortunate email or phone call, and if it's a yes, you'll come on site to a studio interview. Studio interview can range, making it from 2 hours to a full day. You might get taken to lunch with the rest of the team. You'll get to meet lead artists, lead programmers, technical directors, art directors, etc. And you'll be talking through your portfolio. If you're a programmer, you might have a technical test, not so much a written test, but you might be given a problem and there'll be a whiteboard solution. If you're an artist, you'll be talking through your portfolio and analysing that in terms of what you do, again, what you do differently. And obviously the Art 101 questions in there too. If it's a no, unfortunately, it's a phone call and it's thanks but no thanks. But if it's a yes, you get an offer to come and work for us. And that's how it works. So again, really nice and simple, but I think it's really good just to put that up there, just to give you a really simple view of what's going to happen once you start applying for roles. Okay, so what do we look for? Passion, preparation, and skill. You'd be shocked how many people will come to us and, maybe the passion's not there. Do you play games? Occasionally. Why do you want to work in the games industry if you don't play games? It's like a chef who doesn't try different types of food. How do you know what tastes good if you don't play lots of different games? Well, people who just say, I only play first-person shooters, or I only play sports games, I only play sort of FIFA or PES. It's like, that's great, and you might be a real expert in that, but you need to play a wide range of games, console, mobile, PC, all genres. And then preparation as well. In this day and age, you can be in the car park 10 minutes before. You can quickly Google us, read our Wikipedia page, go onto our website. You can find out lots of different information about your interviewers. You can look at them on LinkedIn and stalk them. You can quickly find what games that they made on Moby Games. Some of those you might have played as a child, and it's talking points during an interview. So bear that in mind, and obviously skill comes down to what you're learning at the moment and what you're doing above and beyond. So then, a resume is essential. Unfortunately, we have to have one. It's normally a page. We try and keep it tight, as everyone else has sort of said. But tailor it for the games industry and the studio you're applying. So, again, I've had ones where the opening paragraph is, really want to work at TT Games. Great, but we're not TT Games. And we've had others which have said they want to work in first-person shooter. We do racing games and RPG games. Doesn't quite mesh. So bear that in mind as well. Maybe keep it a bit more generic so you don't have to keep changing it every time. So, correct details. If your phone number's not right, your email's not right, guess what? We can't get in touch with you. So you'd be shocked how many I've seen with mobile numbers don't work and emails are incorrect. They're incorrect. We can't get in touch with you. Also, it reflects on you. If you can't get those basics right, well, extrapolate from there. Keep it relevant. Keep it tight. Again, I think it's great if you've done some part-time work and you've got that, you've worked to keep yourself through university and that, which is great. But you know what? It's not that relevant to what we're doing. We want to see your portfolio, your degree, what modules you've done, and a great opening sort of statement as to why you want to work in the industry as well. And make it concise. Again, keeping it tight to that one page. So your website separates your application from everyone else. Make sure it's relevant for all studios. So if you're an artist, studios out there, whether you're console, mobile, some are super realistic like Playground, some are more stylized like Rare. Try and make sure that you're not just going all in on stylized and then trying to send your portfolio to Playground or vice versa, sending it to Rare. You want to make sure there's bits in there for everything so you're opening yourself up to as many studios as possible. Keep it simple. Again, we go into ArtStation's great because it's always in the same format, so art directors, art managers, leads, they all know what they're looking for and it's really easy. We can click into a piece and then you can list all the different imagery on it as well. But make it aesthetically pleasing too, especially if you're an engineer or a designer using WordPress. Pick a nice template, make it look good, showcase and show off your work aesthetically. You also need to prove to us why you should be there. So clear communication. Undertake the research. It doesn't take 10 minutes, honestly. And you also need to know, we're going to ask you, why do you want to work at Playground? Why do you want to work at Rare? Why do you want to work at Ninja? Think about that and come up with a great reason. The last thing we want is, it's a job. I really want to work in the industry. I really want to go and become my own studio boss and have my own little indie. We're a big console AAA developer. That's not going to go down as well as, I want to work on big console AAA games, with an audience of tens of millions worldwide. Think about the answers that you're doing there. And then go the extra mile. Do the extra work on your portfolio, do the extra research. You can go a little bit too far. We've had people who've baked cakes for us in terms of like racing tracks. There's a step too far with some of those as well, but we want to see the extra mile in terms of the portfolio, in terms of the research, etc. So a few pro tips. Save your resume as a PDF. You'd be shocked if you're using some very obscure font and you've saved it as a Word document and you send it to me. That font's not in my list. It's going to mess up the whole CV. All your nice formatting you spent hours doing, you'll lose. Save it as a PDF. It's not going to change. Ensure your contact details are correct. It's a real pet peeve of mine as a recruiter. The website is definitely more important than your CV. Spend a lot more time on that than writing your one-page CV. Research the people who work at the studio at your level. So what I mean there is, if you go onto the Playground website and you want to be an environment artist, you can click on the team section, go to art, go to environment art. Guess what? All our environment artists come up. If you scroll down towards the bottom and see the more fresher-faced people as part of that team, hover over them, you'll see their name. Guess what? If you take that name and Google it with ArtStation, their ArtStation portfolio comes up. And from there, you can see what because they won't have changed it since they worked at Playground. You'll see instantly what the bar is. So you can look at yours and go, okay, so Jane or Joe or Bob, what's their portfolio like? Am I the same as them or am I better than them? Or do I need to do a bit more work? If you need to do a bit more work, hold off applying, work on the portfolio till you believe that you're at a par with the rest of the team, then submit. If you can't play the studio's latest title, then watch a playthrough online. Look, games are expensive. You can be sort of $60 a game. Luckily now we have Xbox Games Pass. I'll get that in there for $8 a month. If you can't play it or you can't afford it, watch a playthrough. YouTube has so many playthroughs. If you watch a playthrough for a game for the first 2 hours, you'll get a great idea of what the mechanics of that game are like, any special features. You'll see what the aesthetic is, the artistic style. At least it will give you something to talk about on that game. But try to play their latest releases. We've said no to people, great developers, but they've come in, they've never played Forza or they're not interested in RPGs. Guess what? Said no. We want those people with passion to work for our studio. And again, don't wear a suit to an interview, but also don't wear shorts. Smart casual's the outfit of the day. Cool. So then, I wanted to sort of start to wrap up, and we'll do some Q&A at the end as to why we do this. So I'll throw it out there first. Why do you want to work in video game development? Anyone brave enough to put their hand up and answer? Come on, there's got to be someone out there. Yeah?
To give people some fun experiences and sort of, make their day.
Cool. Great answer. Any others? Yeah?
I want to make art, but I want people to experience that.
Good. Great one as well. Yeah?
As a kid, video games helped me a lot just with expressing different things, and I think that would be a good thing to pass on to the next generation and people who are also in the same boat.
Awesome. Super answer. Another one, last one? Yeah?
To teach people.
Yeah? Good answer. All these answers are valid, and they're great reasons why you should be going into video game developer. Here's something which Microsoft released at the end of last year, but to me, I think it really spoke to me in terms of why it's great to do this, and hopefully you'll get a kick out of it as well. Cool. So I really like that video. As a video game developer, you get to impart joy and wonder on so many different people's lives. As a big AAA, we have millions and millions of people playing our game. Potentially, if you came and joined Playground, seeing your art, your programming, your design. There's very few medias out there which can reach out and touch so many people. And I think that video just really surmises, some of the power that being a video game developer has. So, a few takeaways for you. Studios receive lots and lots of applications. You have to make yours stand out. Do your research. Know why you want to work for the studio. Play the games the studio has released. Play a variety of different games on different platforms. Be resilient. The last one's really, really important. You're going to get a lot of knockbacks. Few people put that first application in and land that first job. When I was a graduate some years ago, I think it was my 10th interview, I really started to get into the groove of knowing what the interviewer is asking and what answers that they want. So if you get practice, your university or college will have careers advisors. Do mock interviews. I know it sounds lame, but interviewing is a real art form. As much practice as you can get is ideal, whether you do it with your peers, your family, brothers, sisters, etc. Practice as much as you can. Rehearse your answers so you're not sort of stumbling over. You can Google standard interview questions, run through them, practice it. The last thing you want to do is send that first application in, get that dream interview at the studio you've wanted to work at since you were a kid, and then you blow the interview because you haven't practiced on how to interview. So you need to be resilient. You get a lot of knockbacks. The other thing I would say as well, don't keep applying. If you're going to keep applying to the same studio, give it some space. Our system's designed so you can't apply twice within the 6-month period. So make sure your portfolio, your application is tight before you look to put an application in. We have 5 minutes left, I've been warned, so I wanted to do a few Q&As just to wrap up. Any questions? Yeah?
What would you like to see on a technical artist portfolio?
Good stuff. So tech art, again, really sort of key at the moment. We're seeing a lot of Houdini, procedural generation, photogrammetry, PBR type work, stuff which is at the cutting edge. Studios don't always have the most amount of time to really research the most advanced techniques, especially with production being tight. So if you're looking at really bleeding edge stuff and highlighting certain elements, that's fantastic, and doing a lot of research in while you've got the time to do it. That sort of stuff is ideal, really. Yeah?
I have the same question but for environment artists. Like, any tips on how you make yourself stand out? Because you look through hundreds of applications.
Yeah.
What attracts your eyes and then recruiter?
So I always like to see vegetation. We see a lot of the inside of Space Hawks, a lot of mechs, all that sort of stuff. If we can see soft vegetation, even if you're using SpeedTree to create it, but you can take reference from an existing tree. We use hero trees in Forza Horizon 3 and 4. I think even UKIE, you can see Jake Woodruff's talk on how to make trees. Even if you're referencing the leaves and then adding the leaves into SpeedTree, stuff like that. If you can do the soft vegetation stuff, you can do the hard surface stuff. I know used to be, at least, for TT Games up in Cheshire, they make all the Lego games. Their art test is a ruined fort on the top of a hill. You'll never, ever see that in one of their games, but they know if you can do that, you can make Lego bricks. So if you can do the harder stuff, the soft vegetation, trees, bushes, all that sort of stuff, we know you can do the hard stuff.